At approximately 2:58 this afternoon, there was a crime committed in this room. Over in this corner of the room, right here, there was a crime committed. And I don't know if you had the opportunity to take a look at this crime scene here, but there's some evidence around this crime scene that would sort of give you an idea of what might have happened here. And you can show the next slide up there, because if you can't see it, if you didn't get a chance to look, you can see that is our crime scene right there. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to, just like with the person next to you or like two people around you, I just want you to take a guess at what you think might have happened over at this crime scene. What marker? It's not a marker. A marker? Where? Oh, the red thing? I don't know. It's just like a little piece of red stuff. It's a piece of red stuff. I'm not quite sure. I'm not an investigator. I'm just a normal guy. All right. So who has a guess? Who thinks that they might know? What do you got here? Yeah.
Tied the balloon to a string, and then somebody popped it, and that looks like a Bible. So he threw the Bible, and then the rapture happened, so he disappeared.
Okay, that is a great guess. Now, here's what I want you to see. How would we possibly know what happened in this crime scene if we weren't there to witness it? It would be tough, right? We got to look at the evidence that we have right here in the present. Or, if we happen to have a video of what happened, that would tell us exactly. Do we have a video of what happened here, Ben? If you have sound, you can turn up sound. All right, pause that up there. All right, so you can see what happened in our first crime scene. I mean, you were pretty close. You looked at the evidence, right? Because if you came up close to this crime scene, you would see some evidence here where our evidence marker number 1 is. You could see that looks like a balloon on the ground. The area there is wet, and there's a book on the floor. The seat is wet, and there's a string tied. Yeah, I mean, you got pretty close. I mean, the rapture didn't happen today, but that was a very close guess. We have another crime scene in the back here, and this crime happened earlier today. Hey, Ben, can you flip me back up on that one? I'm on the wrong one. All right. You can see in this crime scene back here, something interesting happened back here. All right. At approximately 4:55 this afternoon, there was a crime that took place in this corner of the room. So here's what I want you to do. With 1, 2, 3 people next to you, just, take a guess at what you think happened at that crime scene. You know it?
No, I know it.
You guessing? Are you guessing? No, you're not. Okay. All right, Nathan Jester has a guess at what he thinks happened back in the corner of the room. So everybody listen to Nathan Jester.
Cup stack competition.
And?
Gone wrong. Gone wrong crazy.
Cup stack competition gone wrong. All right, well, one way that we can know what happened is if we had some video of the scene. So take a look. What happened in the corner of the room?
heck, man? Just trying to play some Angry Birds.
All right, pause it there. Pause it. All right. Okay. So you can see what happened in crime scene number 2. Now, just looking at some of that evidence, it would be difficult to determine that we had a youth leader who was sitting behind a home of cups, and a burst of wind happened to knock those cups down. I mean, that was unusual. All right. Who was playing Angry Birds there. Well, we have another crime scene back in the back over here, and put that one up on the screen so people can see it. But back over here, we have a crime scene that looks like a pretty messy crime scene. And take a look at the screen, or you can stand up and look over there and try to talk with a couple people, figure out if you can determine what happened over there.
No, it's banana split. So there's banana.
Is it Cammy? All right, everybody. Cammy thinks she knows what happened, right? Cammy, what do you think happened in this crime scene? Crime scene number 3.
Someone was trying to make an ice cream sundae and they fell on a banana peel.
Oh, wow, that is a great guess. Let's see what happened in the video.
Some banana split action here. Ooh, fudge.
I think he just got high.
Man, stupid banana peel.
All right. Now, I'm not quite sure, people, if it was the banana peel or if he was doing whippets and got high and just slipped and fell over. Mr. Bray, we are not supposed to be displaying that kind of thing for kids. All right. Here is crime scene number 4. Crime scene number 4. Wow. That is pretty strange. Oh, well, it says 5 just because that's piece of evidence number 5. Just marking evidence. We got lots of people who want to guess. Okay, so Harley is here and she wants to take a guess. What happened over there? Harley!
In real life, Fruit Ninja.
Real life Fruit Ninja. What do we got there? Ben, what happened? All right. Yeah, pretty impressive, right? So how do we know what happened in the past, right? We need to look at evidence that we have in the present to figure out what happened in the past. And we can take an educated guess on what we think happened. That's what you guys did. You looked at some of the evidence and you took an educated guess. Now the thing is, by looking at evidence in the present to figure out what happened in the past, we're not going to get everything right. Right? We didn't get every single little detail. I mean, like, we got the rapture happening over here. You know, we got a cup stacking contest back there. It wasn't completely right. Some of you guys made some good guesses on it, and you figured out what the basic idea at some of the scenes. And maybe you should take up, criminal justice or something. Some of you shouldn't do that as a major in college because you were just way off, and you just had no idea what was going on. So the best way to know for sure what happened in the past is we could watch a video and see what happened. Or if we don't have a video, maybe like the next best thing would be like an eyewitness account. And I want you to remember that because I'm going to come back to it in a couple minutes too. So here's what I want you to think about. I want you to think about this whole thing that I'm talking about here concerning where we came from in life. Now, some people think that everything that exists today, all matter came into existence on its own, randomly. It just happened. Other people think that God created everything supernaturally. Now, we can't go back into the beginning, in the past, to check out the claims of either side on this. All we can do is look at the evidence that we have in the present to see if it gives us any clues about the past. But the problem with evidence is that everyone interprets evidence according to their own worldview. So just take the scenes around the room here, for instance. Now, this scene over here, our Fruit Ninja scene, if you don't believe in middle-aged, middle-aged ninja, sword-wielding ninjas, if you don't believe in that, then you couldn't possibly think that this was done by a fruit ninja. Maybe instead, if you came into this room and you were trying to figure out what happened over here, you might take a look at all the stuff, all the fruit on the floor, and you might think that like there was a Rebecca Black concert in here or something. I don't know, you might come to that conclusion, right? Or, if you don't believe in air, because after all, you can't see air, you can't taste it, you can't touch it, you can't smell it, all right? We think air is there, but if you don't believe in air, there is no way that you would come to the conclusion that air knocked over those cups. You could not come to that conclusion. You would never come to that. Does that make sense? So we interpret evidence based on our worldview. So if you don't believe that God exists, then there's no evidence in the world that will convince you that God is the creator. It can't be done. Even if things look like they were designed, if you don't believe in the possibility of God, then any design that you see, you're going to have to come up with an alternative solution. And a lot of people do that. And you know what I think? Evolution is one of those alternative solutions. It's the alternative solution to explain away design. I want you to watch a video. Ben, I have that other video, if you could just throw that up here. So check this out for a minute. It's just real quick. So you got to get your brain engaged here and watch what this video has to say about evolution.
You hear this one a lot. Science has proven evolution, therefore evolution is true. Since evolution is true and Christians don't believe it, then Christians don't believe science and they aren't rational people. Really, let's put that claim to the test. First off, evolution in the sense that things change is evident. No rational person disputes that. Therefore, rational Christians believe it. We can observe change, but evolution in the sense that life came from non-life and then that life began to randomly generate new genetic information and over time it eventually produced humans is something entirely different and something that quite honestly doesn't hold up against science. In other words, evolution in the sense of molecules to man is not scientifically plausible and therefore should not be viewed as scientific fact. Quite honestly, it is in great opposition to science, that is, observational science, the kind of science we can test and repeat and use our five senses to understand. Science demonstrates that over time, living organisms lose genetic information. They don't gain it. That same science demonstrates that life doesn't arise from non-life. Hey, follow along if you would. Fact 1. There is no known observable process by which new genetic information can be added to an organism's genetic code. None. That pretty much refutes evolution right away, because there's no way to go from a fish to an amphibian without adding new information, right? If living organisms cannot produce new genetic information, how can anything gradually change into something of higher intelligence or form or complexity? That is, how can anything evolve from an amoeba to a man without adding new genetic information? The answer, of course, is that it can't, plain and simple. Now, some have speculated and they have imagined all kinds of things, and they brought in artists to produce creative renderings based on guesses, and they have been successful in telling a very convincing story that humans evolved from ape-like creatures. But those are just drawings, people. They're just stories. But what we really observe is humans are humans and apes are apes. Now, if fact 1 buried evolutionary thinking deep into the Precambrian soil, this next fact, fact 2, tosses so much sediment on it that not even the greatest team of paleontologists with the latest subterranean gizmo could dig up the remains. Check this out. Never, again, never has it been observed that life can come from non-life. So here are 2 major scientific evidences against evolution. I reiterate for clarity, life has never been observed to come from non-life, and there is no known, observable process by which new genetic information can be added to the genetic code of an organism. So, molecules to man evolution doesn't really make scientific sense. Yet we are all here, and life is all around us in various forms. Although evolution cannot account for this, the Bible can. The Bible reveals that the all-powerful, all-knowing, supernatural God created the heavens and the earth out of nothing, and all life according to its kinds, that is, each with its own set of genetic information. So, again, what the Bible reveals makes sense of what we see and understand. Evolution does not. Enough said.
All right, thanks, Ben. All right, yeah, you can clap for that. Now, there are people out there who mistakenly believe that when you believe in God, that's religion, but when you believe in evolution, that's fact of science. Actually, one of our students who is here tonight had a Facebook debate on this topic with some friends from Pennsbury, and it was a debate over an article that they had all read for a biology class, and the article was called Evolution as a Theme in Biology. And here are some of the quotes from the article, if we could put it up on the slide here. In contrast to the widespread acceptance of evolution in the scientific community, there is considerable debate within the broader society concerning the validity of evolution as a scientific fact and as a scientific theory. This debate is a political and social debate, not a scientific one. And so this article basically told some of our Pennsbury students that science has already made the determination that there is no debate here. Evolution is fact. And if we want to talk about any other options like creationism, that's political, that's social, that's religious stuff. It doesn't fit in science. But in that video, hopefully you saw that is not true, and we're going to look at that a little bit more. The article also quotes a biologist as saying nothing in biology makes sense except in light of evolution. Really? I mean, is that true? Well, what evidence does the article point to then? What evidence does the article give to back up this statement? Here's what the author says. All organisms share common cellular and molecular structures and processes. Evolution, descent from a common ancestor, provides the explanation for this underlying unity within the diversity of life. This is the fact of evolution. Without the recognition that the common features shared by all organisms are due to their descent from a common ancestor, there would be no unified science of biology. All right, so the big proof that this article gives, this is their main one that they have, that this fact of evolution is because that everything descended from a common ancestor. And so we see some similar features in all different organisms. And so he says that all organisms have this common ancestor. And this article clearly states that evolution is a fact. Actually, the very next paragraph says we recognize that evolution is a fact of life. And so the greatest evidence that they gave in this article, now they would say that there are many more, and I think that they do have many more, but the greatest evidence that they gave is that all organisms have similarities in cellular and molecular features. So they're similar. But let me ask you a question. If there was a single intelligent designer, namely God, wouldn't you expect that there would be similarities in the structure of those organisms that this one being created? I mean, think about it for a second. Just like there are similar features in Vincent van Gogh's paintings, take a look. You can put them all up there. There's some similar features in all of his paintings. If there's one God who created every living organism, we would expect to find common features between them all. So do you get it? We all have the same evidence, but this biology teacher from Pennsbury and I interpret the evidence very differently based on our worldviews. Now, sadly, a lot of teenagers just jump right in on board and think that evolution has been proven as scientific fact. One teenager in the Facebook debate said, "But evolution is proven." Another teenager said, "You may have your religious beliefs and that's fine, but evolution is definitely true." And one more said this, "Dude, these are facts." Yeah. And this one's my favorite. So the theory, this is another student, all right, another student arguing with one of our students here. They said the theory of evolution has been reinforced hundreds of thousands of times in the laboratory and in nature without any human intervention. Just accept it and move on. Maybe you just got the recessive gene for belief and find it impossible to comprehend what we, the majority or carriers of the dominant gene, can comprehend and accept as truth. If that really is the case, I just hope natural selection takes its course. Wow. Why the hate? Why the hate? I mean, this is just what one person believes, right? Why so harsh? Why all the anger? And here's what I want to tell you, guys. It's because in this issue, people have a lot emotionally invested in it. In this debate, there's a lot emotionally invested because listen to this. If we can prove that evolution is true and that the universe came into existence on its own, then no one created us and we are indebted to no one. I can make up my own rules. I can be the God of my own life. But if there is a God and he created me, then I'm obligated to find out why he created me and what he wants from me. About 2,000 years ago, a guy named Peter predicted that at this time in history, people would come along and purposefully deny that God exists and deny that he created the universe. In 2 Peter 3, it says this, "Above all, you must understand that in the last days, scoffers will come, scoffing and following their own evil desires. They will say, 'Where is this coming?' He promised. Ever since our ancestors died, everything goes on as it has since the beginning of creation. But they deliberately forget that long ago, by God's words, the heaven came into being and the earth was formed out of water and by water." Peter's talking about us here. How we would try to explain the universe without God. People today are deliberately forgetting that God created the universe. And Peter gives them the reason why they do this. Because they wanted to follow their own evil desires. I'm just going to be honest with you guys tonight. I am biased. I believe in God. I believe that he created the universe supernaturally. Colossians 1 says, it says this, "For in Jesus all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities. All things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together." You know what? I trust what this book says, but not because I have blind faith. I believe this because I think it's the only thing that makes sense of our universe. As human beings, we have the innate ability to recognize design. We can see when things are designed. Would you ever look at this mountain and come to the conclusion and say, "Wow, look at what the runoff from the rain did, and like birds pecking and like squirrels scratching. Look what they did to this mountain over millions of years." Hey, that guy looks a little like George Washington. Wow, that's random. You can go back to Mount Rushmore for a second. And there's another guy there who looks like Abraham Lincoln. And you know what? That one resembles Thomas Jefferson a little bit. And maybe the other guy, like Theodore Roosevelt. That is really weird that just all happened by chance. Now, would anybody think that? Would anybody look at a mountain like this and say that just happened by chance? No, because we can understand, we recognize design. We can be absolutely certain that these 4 faces carved into the side of the mountain were created by design. We recognize it. And so let me ask you this question. Which structure is more complex? The one carved out of the rock, or the actual face that it was fashioned after? See, because of our modern day biology, we understand that the human body is extremely complex, much more complex than a stone carving. So we understand that a simple work of art like Mount Rushmore is designed, but at the same time, we think that the actual face of the person that's far more complex came about by chance. Does that make sense? You know what? I'd love to take 5 hours and just share with you story after story, evidence after evidence, and talk to you about creation. We just don't have that time to talk about it. So I want to give you one more tonight because we're almost out of time. This is one that I really like. In our technological age, we see information everywhere, but most people never really stop to consider, where did that information come from? A scientific definition of information is this: it's a coded message containing an expected action and an intended purpose. Well, DNA contains information. DNA contains the instructions on how to build an organism. DNA would be considered information under this scientific definition here. Whenever we find any sort of information, there are certain rules that apply. The first rule tells us that matter does not just spontaneously create itself. It doesn't create information. It doesn't just come about spontaneously. And the second rule tells us that only a mental source can create information. In one sense, those rules are hardly profound. We all know that. Even evolutionists know this, but we take it for granted. We take it for granted that there is an author behind every book. We take it for granted that there is a programmer behind every app on our iPhones, and we take it for granted that there is an advertiser behind every billboard that we see. That information didn't just get there on its own. No one who is using their iPhone app and playing Where's My Water thinks that some random mistakes in code generated that app. We know that there is a programmer behind that app. And the information in DNA could not have come about by mutations and natural selection, because the rules of information science tell us that all information comes from a mental source, a mind. The information in DNA only makes sense if there is a God who created it. And you've got to understand that if there is no God, then matter had to give rise to zillions and zillions and zillions and zillions of bits of information over millions of years. And new information keeps coming and coming to form all of the kinds of animals and plants, zillions and zillions of bits of information. But do you know something interesting? We have never seen matter produce one single bit of information. Never once. They've never done it in a lab. They've never observed it anywhere. Matter does not produce information. A mental source always produces information. Some atheists claim that all of it just happened by chance. And so I want to do a little experiment here, just so you get the idea of what I'm talking about. I have a whiteboard. I'm going to do this really quick because I'm almost out of time here. All right, and I just want this first row here, I want you to come out and you're going to pick up a Scrabble piece out of the bag. If your Scrabble piece is blank, just leave a space. If it has a letter on it, grab the pen and we're going to write a sentence on the board. Just start up here on the left and start writing. So go ahead. Just write your letter. You can leave the cap off. Who needs one? Yeah, quick. Go ahead. You don't try to spell anything. You know, you're not making a word. Just go. Whoever's next, go right ahead. This row, front row over here. Come on up. Real quick. All you got to do is pick a letter and put it up on the board. Just in whatever order you pick it out from. So just go right ahead. Everybody got one? All right. Thanks, man. Yeah, if you want, you can just put your letter here on the stage. Okay, so let's see if we spelled anything here. Oh, we still got people going. Fliniativertes Nikolon Yifa. All right, cool. I think somebody over here said it was Swedish or something, so. All right. Now we have, how many do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 letters, all right? And we got no information by doing this randomly. Now, you might be saying to yourself, okay, Jason, let's do this 1 billion times and eventually we're going to get something. You know what? I always win this illustration because you know what? If we started to spell something, I'd just keep going. And we just keep going. And we keep going, and we'd fill up some more boards, and we just keep going. And here's what I'm telling you. We will never get anything that makes sense on these boards. Never. It won't happen. It's not that there's one chance in 100 billion, million, zillion that it's going to happen. Never will it happen. Now, this isn't a perfect example of evolution, because in evolution, I'm giving you the letters. In evolution, where did the information come from? Where did the pieces of the DNA come from? Who created that? Who made that? See, I gave you letters, and you wrote the letters up here, and still we can't get information. It doesn't work that way. It's impossible. Information always comes from the mind of a mental source, a sender, a thinker. And you see, there are evolutionists who are very inconsistent when it comes to information science because they look in outer space for aliens, and they have a program called SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. That's it, SETI. Awesome, got it. So they have this program, and they're listening in outer space for radio waves. And they get radio waves all the time because stars give up radio waves. So how would they know if something is coming from an alien or if it's coming from a star? Well, the way they would know is if it was coming from an alien, it would have some kind of information in it. But I say to those same scientists, but wait, we have information, real information in our DNA. Oh, no, that didn't come from a mental source. That was just random, right? And so they're inconsistent. See, the building blocks will never come together on their own to form information. Information only comes from the mind of a sender. So think back to what you heard at the start of this lesson. How do we know what happened in the past? How can we know for sure what happened to the fruit over here? In the Facebook debate, one of the girls arguing for evolution made the most intelligent statement, I think, in the whole debate. And this is what she said. It's not like we can go back in time and watch how the species developed. And this is why I thought that was such a great statement. This girl who was arguing for evolution, it was a great statement because she understood, she realized that we can develop these theories about the past and none of them are foolproof. We don't have video of the species being made. The only way we can know for sure about what happened in the past is if we have a reliable eyewitness or a confession from the person who did it. As Christians, we believe that we have the only historical account of the origin of the universe written by the only eyewitness of these events, and that's God. I believe he wrote a book that explains everything that he did. And you know what? Tonight, you might think that's garbage. But if there is no God, and we all evolved, then when we die, there is nothing. And we won't even know that we ever existed. When our friends die, they won't even know that we ever existed, because there will be nothing. Nothing. We're just gone. So what's the reason for living? If I were an atheist, I would check out the claims of Christianity very closely. In fact, I would study those claims for a lifetime, hoping that it proves that there is a God, because then at least there would be hope. If Christianity is not true, everything is lost. There's nothing. But you know what? If I'm wrong, at least I lived a life of peace and hope because of what I believe. But if it's true and you don't believe it, what have you lost? There's one certain thing for every single one of us that is alive today, and that is death. Death is going to come to every single one of us. And one day, I believe that every one of us is going to stand in front of this Creator, this incredible being. And what are you going to say in that moment? God, sorry. My biology teacher told me you didn't exist. I mean, it wasn't my fault. What will you say to God? Because we know what God will say to those people. It tells us in Matthew 7:23, it says that God will say, I will tell them plainly, I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers. If you don't believe this tonight, all I'm asking is that you check it out. Check it out and see for yourself if what I'm saying is true. Don't take my word for it. Do your own research, and because this is the most important decision that you could make in life. If you are willing to investigate these claims, when you leave tonight, we have a Bible for you that talks about some of the things that I talked about tonight, and you can have that for free. We want to give it to you as a gift because we want you to be able to investigate these claims. So just grab it from Leah at the table out there when you leave. I imagine that just in closing that some of you are here and you're sitting this and you've heard enough that you just want to know, what do I need to do? Jesus said in John 14:6, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Jesus is the only way to get to heaven. He is the only way to spend eternity with God. The Bible says that we are sinners, and because of our sin, we're separated from God. And somebody had to pay for our sin. The Bible tells us that Jesus was willing to go to a cross and die for us so that we didn't have to, so that we could spend an eternity with him in heaven. We didn't have to die an eternal death. And so tonight, if it makes sense to you what I'm saying, you can tell God you want to believe that for the first time tonight if you want to. If you have faith in Jesus Christ, I'm just going to pray a prayer that I prayed when I was a little kid. And you're welcome to pray it in your head to God. He can hear it. And then if you have any questions, come up and talk to me or one of the other leaders. Let's pray. God, I know that I'm a sinner. I know that I have done bad things. And God, certainly part of that has been not believing in you. I have not known you. I have not tried to find out who you are. And God, I pray that you would forgive me for that. I pray that you would forgive me for all the wrong things that I have done. Jesus, tonight I want to come to you and say that there is no way that I can get to heaven on my own. I cannot be good enough to get there. My good things will never outweigh my bad things. God, I realize that it doesn't work that way. That your word tells me that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, that no one gets to the Father except through him. And tonight, God, I want to put my faith in Jesus. I want to put my faith in his death on the cross. God, I thank you that when I was just a little kid, hanging out with my parents, and they were telling me this story, that I believed that many years ago. And God, you've changed my life completely. You've given me a purpose and a hope in life. God, I pray that these guys would have that same purpose and that same hope, that they would know beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is something beyond this world, that this universe could not have come into existence on its own, that there is a designer, that there is a creator. And God, we thank you that you reveal yourself to us, that you want a relationship with us. And so God, I pray that tonight we would draw close to you, that we would want to know you more, and we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.